Must be, isn't it time sensitive?
It might be, yeah.
It's better than unsatisfactory. Oh, son of a gun, I thought he was gonna come up and tell us what it was.
Why do you really want to know?
I don't know. I wonder what they do. He moved on.
Yeah, he probably.
I just thought the meeting was very successful.
Suspense is.
You didn't work enough too? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Do you think there's a problem with the internet maybe? Because sometimes when that happens, the internet connection.
It shouldn't be because we use the computer all the time.
I know.
Especially if you try to do something again.
Look at the person, if you had see the bar with this an X. How
Yep.
weird.
Your assessment, is there a technology component?
I think I put it next to it.
Maybe.
Good job.
Okay. When you look at this here, this is the administrative rubric and self-assessment form. And the ones that we're focusing on this year are done in green. And so the educator plan, this is a self-directed growth plan. And so let me check that out. I'll try to check it. Let's see if it works. But, okay. The first standard is standard-based unit design. It's empowering staff to create with a backward design approach, rigorous standard-based units of instruction that are aligned across grade levels and content areas, continually monitoring and assessing progress, provides feedback and connects educators to additional support as needed, is able to model this element. And I have exemplary on that. During the last couple of years, I've worked with the principal, CTE director, and curriculum director to raise, let's see, pull this over.
Makeup will work.
To raise the expectations for the development and the use of curriculum in the day-to-day planning, instruction, and student activities. As a result of this work, teachers have developed curriculum that is more rigorous and includes assessments in which to measure student progress more accurately. Because the curriculum has become more standard-based, students are receiving better feedback on their assignments and projects. So that's text that I've, some evidence of what, why I identified exemplary. At the end of April, I will give you some documents that give more concrete evidence as to the progress and what we've done as a school around curriculum and standard-based and designed for curriculum. Quality of effort and work. Sets and models high expectations for quality of content, student effort, and student work school-wide, and empowers educators and students to uphold these expectations consistently. Is able to model this element. Because of my commitment to plan and attend leadership meetings that have the biggest impact on day-to-day instruction, I am able to articulate my expectations for high standards and rigor regarding the curriculum and instruction. Working with the principal to lead initiatives such as the conditions for school effectiveness and the new evaluation systems are examples of expectations I have set for myself and the staff. Adjustment to practice under proficient provides planning time and effective support for teams to review assessment data and identify appropriate interventions and adjustments to practice, monitor educators' efforts and successes in this area. As a member of the district data team, I have helped train staff in the use of assessment data and have empowered them to train their colleagues at common planning meetings. at common planning time meeting. As a result of this work, teachers are starting to use data to assess students' strengths and weaknesses and make recommendations for tier interventions in interventions. In addition, teachers are reviewing data at their common planning time and making adjustments to curriculum in order to address students' strengths and weaknesses. Yes.
Yes, Mrs. Sisson?
In order for you, obviously I can read what the criteria is for exemplary.
Yeah.
What would you need to add to that? I'm just asking this as an example because you didn't rate yourself at the highest point on this.
Yeah.
What would you have to add to what you're already doing in order to feel you were doing an exemplary job?
Well, I think to feel like I was doing an exemplary job is to see that it's more effective, that more teachers are using it, that administrators are working more closely with the teachers to make it more effective and more used more across all content areas, all the shops, and I don't feel that as a school's there yet, that we haven't gotten there, so I need to do more work, both with administration and teachers, to get this more widely used and more effective across the school. So there needs to be more, I feel like we're not there, and I still need to do a lot of work in order to get us there.
Thank you.
Observations and feedback. A rating proficiency on this typically makes at least 2 unannounced visits to classrooms every day and provides targeted constructive feedback to all educators, acknowledges effective practice, and provides redirection and support of those who practice and less than proficient. And when I look at this particular one, and it says typically makes at least 2 unannounced visits, where I don't typically make classroom visits, it makes connections with leadership members, either through meetings or walkthroughs with them at times, or the things that I do on a day-to-day basis that are maybe unannounced, or in terms of holding people accountable within the administrative team. Not so much about the classroom itself, as this is geared towards administrators who go into the classroom day in and day out. And my work is more how I work and interact with administrative team day in and day out. Although I do go into classrooms and shops, it's not something that I see as my main responsibility. It's more guiding and leading the leadership team in doing their work and making sure that they're doing that kind of work. So I meet with educational administrators on a regular basis to review and discuss their work regarding the new evaluation systems. They have guided and provided feedback to administrators regarding their evaluation reports. Meet every Tuesday with administrators as part of this work on an ongoing basis in order to review their work and to be proactive in doing workshops and teaching them how to improve their skill set with regards to observations and getting consistency, and so that all administrators are observing teachers at the same level, and that we're looking at similar practices and holding teachers accountable to meet certain practices, and then looking at what they are writing in terms of their evaluations and observations of teachers and giving them feedback on that is basically my role in what I do.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Looking at the tier system of this, you're being this one here. So then you're looking at the administrators to make sure they are not just self-assessing, but then they have to look at what the teachers have done for self-assessment and
Right.
decide if that's right. So that's where it all
Yeah, it's all
comes
here,
together.
yeah. Teachers do their self-assessment. Their observers their evaluator is an administrator, so we have about 7 administrators doing evaluations. And then Liz evaluates the administrators, some of the administrators. I evaluate other administrators. Liz evaluates most of the educational administrators. I evaluate Liz, and I evaluate all the district administrators like Leanne, Anne Marie, most of the administrators who are not educators, working with the educators day to day. That's Liz's role. But then I meet with Liz and hold Liz accountable for the work that she's doing with each of those administrators. So So it's kind of, we all have a piece in holding each other accountable to meet a certain standard. And so that's kind of how it works. Liz and I work very closely day to day on a lot of what goes on in the classroom. Liz is ultimately responsible for the education, day-to-day education that goes in, happens in the school. My job is to support and help her with that work. We work closely. The state has changed its expectations of superintendent, where they expect them to be educational leaders, more to be in the classroom, about the shop, and working more closely with their administrators to help them be educational leaders, not just educational managers. So our role has changed a lot. So I'm in almost all the educational leadership meetings that Liz has as we work to improve this process. We do it as a team. And it helps give it more credibility, and staff knows that we're both on the same page, supporting each other in our expectations. So it makes it far more effective.
Ms. Pearl?
I was just curious, is this format, is that consistent across the state? Do they use like the same, everything is kind of the same for everyone?
If they're using the new evaluation system, it's consistent. Beginning next September, everybody in the state is supposed to be using it. This year, only the schools that are race to the top schools had to use it this year. All the rest of the schools have to start using it next year.
Oh, glad that we're doing it.
Any poor stuff in
Needs improvement.
there? Yeah. Will you say that, John?
Well, it'd be up to me now to make sure I give you the right evidence. If you don't agree with it, then you can challenge me on that.
No, we got it.
It's the commitment of high standards. Leads faculty to developing a shared commitment to high standards of teaching and learning and high expectations for achievement for all. Revisits and renews commitment with faculty regularly is able to model this element. I work with the principal to plan and deliver workshops to the administrative team every Tuesday regarding what outstanding instruction looks like. These meetings are focused on improving the instructional skills and knowledge of our administrators, which they then can model for their own staff. And I think, for me, this is the most important of all the elements within the standards, because this is really about setting those high expectations and holding them accountable to those high expectations, which really is a hard thing to do, because it's, what does high expectations really mean? So when I say to an administrator, I say to a teacher, you need to have high expectations for your student, what does that really mean in terms of relative to instruction, in terms of assignments, and in terms of rigor and challenge? What does that all, how does that, getting clarity on that, helping administrators and teachers to understand what that really means is the biggest challenge in the job. And we're seeing it. Let's just take curriculum, for instance. For the last 5 to 6 years, 6 years ago, we did almost the whole year was focused on curriculum and improving curriculum. All our in-service days, which has happened once a month, was focused on the improvement of curriculum and making that better. Well, we're 5 years later after we've done that in the process, and we look closely at where teachers are with curriculum, and we're still a long ways from curriculum where it needs to be in terms of development of curriculum. It's amazing that the expectations are not even close to what you would expect them to be, having gone through all the training and the work that they've done.
Sure.
Would you say that on both sides of the house, or?
Yes, I would say that both sides of the house. And so now we are looking, how do we hold people more accountable for not meeting what? The other day I did what I call fact-finding walkthrough with in electrical with one of the middle managers. Say, let's do a fact-finding on looking at what the students are doing, then talking to the teachers about how did you prepare and plan for what these kids are doing today. Let's look at standards, look at the curriculum that you put together. So what was the framework that you aligned your instruction with? What was the project and assignment that aligned with the instruction and the standard? What were the assessments? How do you measure the students' progress? What is the criteria for performance on this particular project? So the kids understand what they're gonna get graded on and how you're gonna grade them on. And a lot of that wasn't there, and that's consistent with a lot of other. So as you get into the trenches and see what's really there, it helps us to refocus on the work that we need to do. And some places it's there, some places it's not there. So I see that we still need identify, but I'm not blaming teachers. I'm saying no one has really held them accountable to that expectation yet. No one, otherwise it would be there. And a lot of times it's because you are focused on so many other initiatives, so many other priorities. So now we're starting to understand. That's why the priority of literacy, we've been doing it. This is the second year. We're going to continue to do it for 2 or 3 more years, because that's what it takes to really embed it. We can't do something for 1 year and then leave it and go do something else. And curriculum, that's what happened. We did curriculum for 1 year. We assumed everybody's going to keep at it, but people don't keep at it. It's something you got to do for 3 or 4 years to get it right, so that it can be sustained from that point on. So we're finding with literacy, because we spent 2 years and we plan on spending 2 more years, that the teachers understand that this is our real priority. This is what we think is important, and we're following through to make sure what we are training them on is happening in the classroom. And also, we can look at the curriculum and see they're embedding it in some of their daily lessons. Now, I'm not saying there is a lot of good curriculum, but it's not at the level that it needs to be. So that's just, an explanation that we need to do more work. The teachers have worked hard and done a really good job on a lot of curriculum. It's just a matter of getting it even to a higher level of where we would expect everyone to be after 5 years of really focusing on and getting to high quality curriculum.
Mr. Rondo?
We've talked about professional development in the past. Is this kind of thing that you would zero in on in terms of professional development to try to enhance
Yep.
perceptions of someone?
Yeah, we've done some professional development on this, and like anything in professional development, it's like, what is the support that you've given it to make sure that it's embedded and it continues to work after you've done the training? And what is the follow-through that you put in place to make sure that teachers are continuing to do that? Of course, you have to remember too, we have how many new teachers in the last 5 years? I would say more than about 70% of our staff are new from when we did this the last time. So it's also a question of, we have to go back and make sure that in the new teacher induction program, that we include the things that we've trained in the past, so that they didn't receive it, but we now have to make sure that they're getting that training. So having that turnover of that percentage of teachers now shows us that, we're going to have to go back and redo some of the things that we haven't done in the past, so to help them develop and understand what good curriculum looks like. And so it's an ongoing process, and we have many new administrators as well. So we're bringing together a new team, we're bringing new teachers, and so we're going back and looking at what have we done in the past, what do we have to go back and reinforce. And I'm thinking it's more of a responsibility of us learning how do we hold people accountable to do the things that we've trained them for and putting in. Like we've done some training on differentiation of instruction, and we're seeing that in the classroom because we've done a lot of follow-up. When we do our observations, our evaluations, we're asking to look at, we're looking in the classroom to see that they're using differentiation of instruction when they're teaching, because that's something they've been trained on. Now we make reference to that, and anytime we go into the classroom to do an observation, we're looking for that. Are they using it? And then we can make comments and give them feedback on the quality of the work that they're doing in differentiation of instruction, and give them some feedback how to improve within that. So because it's the learning process, we're all getting better at it. Of course, we're involved in so many other kinds of training initiatives throughout, from some of the things from the conditions for school effectiveness that's helped us to identify where our strengths and weaknesses are as a school. These are some of the things we're learning from that we have to get better at. That'll help us be a better school. And so,
Mr. Alt?
so it is working.